This is a fake one-sided rivalry. We got Angel Reese taking more shots at Caitlin Clark unnecessarily. You in Indiana having a great time partying. We see all the clips. Why can't you just do your thing? Want
to witness the exact moment Angel Reese's big marketing play blew up in her face? Picture this. She unveils her new shoe campaign during WNBA All-Star Weekend, thinking it'll be her moment to dominate the spotlight in Indianapolis. Billboards everywhere, Reebok backing her up hit was all carefully staged. But everything shifted when Caitlin Clark suffered a groin injury. Ticket prices plunged by 48%, and just like that, Reese's whole campaign started to look like a desperate attempt to steal attention on a weekend that suddenly lacked its biggest star. Without Clark, the interest disappeared. The numbers didn't lie. When Clark isn't playing, the audience simply doesn't care. And this is where we break down every awkward, cringy move Reese made that weekend and how she's being slammed for it. Oh, and if you're not a fan of her latest move, drop a baby giraffe in the comments to roast her. Yet, while all this is happening, ESPN's Sarah Spain and others in the media keep asking what Caitlin Clark needs to do to stop all this. But here's the reality. This so-called beef is completely one-sided. Clark hasn't fueled it. Everyone expected this all-star weekend to be the moment women's basketball finally cemented itself in the mainstream sports conversation. It was supposed to be Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese in Indianapolis. A packed arena, roaring, setting viewership records, and making corporate sponsors drool. ESPN was ready. Nike was ready. Social media was buzzing. And then it all fell apart. The news broke. Caitlin Clark re-aggravated her groin injury in the final moments of a game against the Connecticut Sun. That meant she'd missed both the three-point contest and the All-Star game. Clark had already missed games and the Commissioner's Cup final earlier that month due to the same injury. For fans, it was devastating. They had planned for months booking flights, hotels, and restaurant reservations in Indianapolis all to witness Clark light up the court in her home state. It was supposed to be a celebration. But with her ruled out, the entire weekend lost its spark. Corporate sponsors had already committed big money. Local businesses expected March Madness like traffic. Campaigns had already launched, including special edition products and content designed to center around Clark. ESPN framed the event as must-see TV. Her injury collapsed the entire foundation of those plans. Her absence drained the energy from the event. Ticket prices dropped by 50%. And vendors, restaurants, and surrounding businesses were left with far fewer customers than anticipated, all because the one player who truly moved the needle was no longer part of the show. Caitlin Clark had become the face of the WNBA, bringing in casual fans, converting skeptics, and putting the league into conversations it had never been in. Before her injury exposed a harsh truth, much of the WNBA's recent momentum was riding entirely on her shoulders, while Clark was quietly rehabbing and disappointing fans who genuinely cared about seeing her. Someone else tried to hijack the spotlight. Angel Reese. Angel Reese, with the full support of Reebok, continued pushing her "I'm in Your City" campaign in Indianapolis. She launched her Reebok signature shoe with billboard ads, social media posts, and slogans that sounded more like a territorial invasion than a product launch. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. That was the message posted on her Instagram, using a track from Bankroll Fresh to hammer it home. But here's the catch. She did all this while Caitlin Clark was sidelined. That timing wasn't accidental. Reese and her team knew Clark wouldn't be able to respond on the court, yet still pressed forward with the aggressive messaging. Some fans saw it as clever. Most saw it as opportunistic. Even Reebok placed a promotional board in Indianapolis for Reese's launch, which was expected, but what made it glaring was the context. This was Clark's home court. Reese hadn't won there. In fact, she hadn't beaten Clark in Indiana at all. Yet here she was, positioning herself as the new face, the dominant force. But there was no showdown. Just a loud statement in an empty arena. Contrast that with when Nike put up a massive billboard of Clark in Chicago. It was after a real performance, a real win. Reese's stunt, by comparison, lacked that substance. Let's be honest, Angel Reese has repeatedly used Caitlin Clark's name and popularity to boost her own brand. Her podcast, the first 3 episodes revolved heavily around Clark. The promotional clips, more Clark references. Reese didn't build a rivalry, she borrowed Clark's spotlight. Then, when Clark wasn't around to play, she went even harder. Instead of respecting the moment or adjusting her tone, Reese doubled down, continuing to make everything about the so-called rivalry. And here's the part that really turned people off. While other players showed maturity and shifted the focus to the league and the fans, Reese kept pushing her personal narrative. The campaign wasn't about growing the sport, it was about marketing dominance over someone who couldn't play. That's not confidence. That's opportunism. Some fans joked, others criticized. The social media reaction was sharp. People were calling it tone-deaf and unnecessary. Why go this hard when your biggest competition is literally injured? Caitlin Clark, to her credit, never fired back. She never disrespected anyone in the media. She let her game do the talking. Take her performance in Chicago, 30 points, 12 assists, a WNBA record. She hyped the crowd. She delivered. No catchphrases needed. She didn't need to say, "This is my city." She proved it. Reese. She came to Clark City, ran a loud campaign, and hasn't even won a game there yet. And instead of letting the weekend be about the league or its future, Reese kept making it about herself versus Clark. That's why it backfired. The campaign turned into a one-sided feud, with Reese punching at shadows, while Clark was busy recovering. Analysts even pointed out that the whole campaign was designed to generate buzz, good or bad. And yes, it worked in that sense. But the backlash, it was real. Reese has undoubtedly made millions off attaching herself to Caitlin Clark. She's built her brand off it. But at what cost? What could have been a bold, shared moment in women's basketball history became a marketing misfire that highlighted just how much of the hype is built on one player. You want to talk about rivalries? Let's talk about real competition on the court, not billboards, not slogans. If you want to prove something, win the MVP, win in Indiana. Until then, the take over your trap messaging feels more like noise than dominance. Because at the end of the day, Angel Reese's biggest campaign landed on a weekend when her so-called rival couldn't even suit up. Fans knew exactly what that meant.